Progress.
Well, welcome to the Lovecraft Easing podcast. Strangers from distant lands, friends of old. We were just talking about Lord of the Rings. I did you see? Oh, there you are, Jenny. I think that was my
Hi.
fault.
No, that's completely fine. Hi, everyone.
I was. I've got that little sign in Fellowship of the Ring. No admittance except on party business. So I've got one on the book house now. It's pretty funny.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
good. You'll have to excuse my background here. I've ripped everything off the wall, and I'm about to, when we finish up here, I'm about to head off to a kind of a writing retreat. And so I've ripped everything from my project up off of the wall, and it's in my backpack. So
No, it's no problem. All right. For those of you watching live, as usual, let me know you can see us and hear us. I think you can. And yeah, let's do introductions and talk to our guest. Emma's here. Emma Gibbon.
Hello.
Yeah. You want to tell everyone who you are? The ones that don't know anyway.
Yeah, sure. I'm Emma J. Gibbon. I am a horror writer, librarian, a few other stuff. My most famous book is Dark Blood Comes from the Feet.
Yeah. Well, I've said a million times, dark blood comes
I
from the
have
feet.
just here at the ready.
Oh, there. Yeah. Alan.
Hello, I'm Alan Hughes, and I do movies and games for the Lovecraft Easing page. And I'd also like to suggest if we've got a Reddit page, so if you want to suggest any show topics or have any questions, look for Lovecraft Easing on Reddit.
Monty's trying to bite my cord. Thanks. Bridget.
Hello, I'm Bridget Bernmark. The Final Glorial is back. Write music and do art and produce the Weird Library podcast. We feature cool stories by awesome authors.
And things are calming down with the house.
Yes,
That's good.
finally.
That's
Yeah.
good. Oh my gosh, Monty. Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt. I run Lovecraft Easing Movie Night. There is a podcast prize today, although I don't have the physical book to hold it up. It's a collection from John Salonia called Shadows from Relais. I have an extra copy, so if you put Relais in the subject line and send an email to easingprizes@gmail.com, we will enter you into the drawing. We usually draw the prize about 8 weeks after the show. You got plenty of time to enter, and who knows, you could win a nice book. I do want to say one thing for people from other lands. I really can't mail these books because the shipping ends up being like prohibitive compared to the worth of the book. But if you enter and win, we will arrange to get you an electronic book. So if you're from the UK, Australia, Brazil, wherever, just go, and you want to enter, go ahead.
What'd you guys watch last night? You're in charge of movie night too, but so.
We watched Splinter, which is a kind of a creature feature about a couple who goes camping and everything goes sideways, and there are these little walking sticks that can pierce you and then turn you into their like zombie servant. When you say it out loud, it just doesn't work. All right.
I was just thinking that.
But it actually is. It's not a great movie, but if you like a good B monster flick, it's right up your alley. Alan was there; he could say.
Yeah, that's right on.
Well, I'm Mike Davis, host of this here podcast, and there's our guest, Jenny. Would you introduce yourself?
Hey, so I'm JS or Jenny Breukelaar. There we go. That's my latest remedy. I'm a writer originally from the States, but I live in Sydney, Australia now. I write horror, speculative, bit of science fiction, stories, novels, graphic novels, and so on. And yeah, that's me.
And you teach speculative fiction as well. I thought I'd get into
do.
that a little bit later, but yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
do. I teach I'm kind of a instructor for hire, I guess. I've taught at the late grade, I did teach at the late grade Lit Reactor for about 10 years. I had the Writing the Weird class, which was incredible. I loved every minute of that. And we had some really great people there and some who have gone on to have, really good careers for themselves. I also teach for a kind of an adult writing class that's called the Faber Academy, run out of the Faber and Faber, I guess, group. And that's an online thing. And I also teach at the University of New South Wales.
teach a
So I
lot.
kind of, it is a lot actually, Mike. It's maybe a bit too much at the moment. So I am thinking about pulling back a little bit next semester.
Your speculative fiction class in September, is that a one-time thing or does that repeat every so
Oh,
often?
that one, the one that's in August, I think. Yeah, maybe it's in September now, late August, early
I
September.
saw on
That is,
your website of last year, September, a
oh,
class.
right.
Yeah.
It may be in, I think it's in August this year, and that is a 1 day. And that is, I've just taught that once. So that's at New South Wales Writing Centre, or Create New South Wales, I think it's called. No, Writing New South Wales. I'll get this right. It's very early in the morning for me. So yes, and that is a once off, but I've taught it once before now, and that was fantastic as well. It was one of my favorite things to do because I spent the whole time talking about Brian Evanson's fiction. So everyone and a lot of newer writers, especially from Australia, hadn't read much Brian Evanson, so it really blew their minds.
His latest collection, as all of them, just blew me away. The stories in them. I had him on the podcast a few months ago, and not
Yeah,
only is he immensely talented, but he's just a really nice guy.
he's a really great guy. Yeah, and I've got that new collection ready to go, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. Well, it, you wrote a book called Remedy, but we'll get into that. But a last question about speculative fiction. Would you mind nutshelling that class a little bit? Like, what do you teach a little bit of that? And then maybe I'm curious what writers get wrong about it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I mean, I guess we could all weigh in on this. I mean, I hate to be kind of put on the spot because I don't know. I know that in some places I teach, if they say speculative, it gets a wider net of students, so
Mm,
that anyone who wants to write fantasy or science fiction, then they can come in too. Because I mean, as we all know, in some I guess like some schools or education facilities, horror is going to just be too niche. So it's just not going to get the students in. So I
right.
think speculative kind of is a catch-all that
Sure.
gets, so the same place that I do that 1 day class, they have what's called a speculative fiction festival. So that is kind of everything. But to be honest, it tends to always, I'm not sure what it's like in the US with this kind of thing, but it probably is different. But in Australia, it tends to be, in a class of 20, only 2 will be horror writers.
Mm,
So the rest will be maybe a little bit of slipstream, maybe a little bit of weird, maybe a little bit of magic realism, maybe a little bit of usually quite a bit of science fiction and fantasy and romantasy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I guess it's a catch-all phrase so that I can talk about it without making people feel like I'm going to be teaching them to write scripts like Splinter.
Sorry, I should have told you I
That
was
would
going to
just,
ask you this.
no, I mean, because that would just be like, it's just a really hard ask in at least in this state. I think different states have got a little bit, but Sydney is just, Australia, New South Wales is just a little bit slower to come to an appreciation of um, the huge category of horror and dark fiction. So
Well, it's based on reading your book. It's very clear that you know what you're doing and you're a damn good writer. I really enjoyed Remedy. Everyone should buy it. You know, small press struggles, you know, no matter what small press it is, you know, Jackanapes Press, Fantastic Press, Tartarus Press, and many,
Yeah.
many others. And I was thinking about how much I enjoyed Remedy and looking at no reviews on Amazon, or at least in the US, and I was like, that's just a crime, you know. So
Yeah.
if you've read this book, or you do read this book, make sure you review it, because it really helps, you know.
Thanks. It really does. And for those of you who are watching it in Australia, or listening to this in Australia, it is maybe contact me or go to your local bookstore, because you're going to get the book at a much better price than the Amazon Australia price, which is, I don't know, it's mental. So just, you can actually get it on the ground for a lot less, or get it via my website, or even via the PS publishing website, cheaper than on Amazon, which is like 50 something bucks. And it's just, again, that doesn't help, you know.
Yeah,
So
that's very true. Um, to, yeah, by the way, everyone, in the show notes, I think it's the very first link, if I remember correctly, I've got a link to Jenny's website. So please check that out. You were just talking about people ordering from the website if that's best for them. So there's the link. Um,
thank you.
so yeah, thanks for coming on. And would you tell us about the book?
Sure. So let's see. I think you described it pretty well. It is about being far from home in a mirror world. I like that.
I stole that from yours, so I can't take credit. So
Yeah, so it's kind of just over a novella, but I think it works as a novella. It's a few thousand words over the actual official novella, I think, length, but it's a small novel about traveling big distances, I guess. Basically it imagines what it would be like to be kind of taken from the person or people that you love most in the world. It's actually like the one person. So it begins with a mother walking with her daughter on the lake, and then suddenly she abandons her daughter without obviously intentionally doing it. She's literally taken away from her daughter by forces that she doesn't understand. And when she next kind of is conscious, I guess, you know, she's in a different place. And this happens to a bunch of other people. And it's a worldwide thing. There's just these few people that this happens to, and they find each other wherever they are, whether it's Sydney or New York or, you know, Amsterdam or whatever. They find each other. They kind of go underground because they're misunderstood. They're kind of, no one believes their stories, obviously. So
right.
they kind of are just called crazy, and they're basically just haunted by their daughter left alone, or their grandmother who raised them left alone, or their wife or whatever, and they are just trying to get back.
It's really compelling, especially for me. I really parts that I really liked were when the characters were getting into trying to figure out what's actually going on, and
Yeah,
you know, the mirror Earth. And one sentence struck me as this twin Earth possibly being on the other side of the Big Bang, which,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I tried to kind of talk about that without getting into a huge book, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
I'm glad that you felt that worked. So there were people among the people who were sort of scarred by this traumatic sort of, I guess, taking. They're trying to figure out what happened, and there's just a whole bunch of theories about what happened. And one of the theories is that this is a mirror world on the other side of the Big Bang, that they've kind of because they've woken up as themselves,
right.
but I mean, I don't want to go into it too much because
Yeah,
it will.
there's some questions we can't ask and answer without spoilers. But yes.
Yeah, but that is one of the things that that one of the kind of they don't like to think of themselves as victims, but one of the people who has experienced this kind of speculates on what may have happened, that their real life exists on the other side of time, and that they will never get back in that case. But there's others who kind of don't give up on that, and just are so haunted by the, I guess, the energy or the force of the love that they feel and the grief that they feel from this kind of like wrenching away, that they are determined to get back. And I should say that all of they've got literally the scars to prove it. So they're being taken by this kind. So they're scarred. They're scarred by this trauma. Actually, they've got scars on their body and so on from wherever the part of their body they were removed or excised from their other world, their real world. Yet no one believes that these scars are actually from this. They have therapy and so on, and the scars are always attributed to some other thing. So it's maddening for them as well.
Yeah, and
But
again,
they kind of find, anyway, I can't say anymore, but yeah, stop me, Mike.
yeah, no, that's fine. Without getting into spoilers too much, it definitely does have elements of cosmic horror,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yes, I really, really enjoyed it. And let me just read a couple of blurbs for everyone, just to hopefully convince you to buy and read this book. So this is from Laura Morrow, author of Sing Your Sadness Deep. Both of these are on Amazon. Existential horror, mind-bending metaphysics, and philosophical inquiry collide violently in a mushroom cloud of gorgeous prose and brilliantly realized characters. The author's cosmic reach is once sprawling and compassionate, asking vital questions about the nature of choice, trauma, identity, and love. And then Lee Murray says, in her usual sumptuous prose, Jenny transports us to new realms with Remedy, a dark study of the duality of self in the aftermath of trauma and heartbreak. The protagonist, her name is Nat,
Yeah.
and she already has, before any of this happens, she already has issues that she's
Yeah.
dealing with, and you find this out in the first few pages, so it's not a
Yeah.
spoiler. Can you talk about that a little bit, and maybe why you wanted this to be a journey that your protagonist takes or had to take?
Yeah, I mean that's the key question, I think, is that I think all of the protagonists plus everyone there that you meet, the characters that you meet, all have like issues that they've had to deal with in their life, and Nat. So I mean, it's that just makes it harder for them when they land, because they have these issues. So with Nat, there are addiction issues. She's in rehab when you meet her, or she's ex-rehab, or she's been in and out of rehab when you meet her as a mom, and in her real world. So she's already struggling, she's already struggling
Right.
with identity, with who she is, with what she's been through, with guilt about being, the mother that she should be. And so and she remembers all of that, when she's in the other place. So that kind of adds to I guess the trauma, is that it's not like she was perfect. It's not like she
Right.
was living a perfect life, and
She's not a
none
Dean
of
Koontz character.
right. Yeah, exactly. She's not June Cleaver, so it's not like she is there and she's messed up, here, but she wasn't messed up there. I think everyone, but it's not, and there are a lot of situations where they kind of question that in their mirror world, where they go like, is there a reason that we were targeted? Is there a reason that we were messed up? And I think what I'm trying to kind of say is that like everyone has issues, no, it's not like a punishment,
Right.
you know, and because they deal with that, like, are we being punished in some way? And that's part of their questioning, you
A
know, that
natural enough reaction to something like that.
yeah. Is this fate, you know? Was I never like with Nat, you know, because she's been separated from her daughter, her anguish is that, oh, well, I was, you know, a shit mother, so I've been taken away from my daughter. And it just really kills her, you know, it really is the hardest thing. So I kind of know those real world experiences, and I just kind of wanted to put them in, yeah, I guess I really like, I mean, what Emma does and what other writers who I admire do, like Laird and so on, is you know, none of we're all messed up, and horror doesn't just target us, you know.
Right.
It's but and it doesn't, and the ending doesn't fix anything either. So yeah.
Well, speaking of Emma, as soon as I realized that you two were friends, I sent Emma an email today and asked her if she wanted to be here. And she said yes. So I know she's got some questions for you too. Do you want to jump in for a bit?
Sure. Yeah, I've got a few. Let me just try and organize these in my mind. So one of the things that you're really good at, and I've seen this across quite a few of your different works, are you've got these really, yeah, they're messed up characters, but they're also very empathetic. Like you really feel for them. So you've got these very realistic, very believable, very, very, you know, easy to empathize characters. And then you've got this otherworldly things going on at the same time, like monsters and hauntings and, you know, and people going to mirror worlds. When you're writing, what comes first? Is it the characters, or is it the, hey, this is a cool thing, maybe I'll do this?
I mean, gosh, isn't that the $64,000 question? I think that for me, it's the character, but it's so part of the what if. It's the character, and then the what if comes almost simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then as the character gets more and more embroiled in the what if, then that of course deepens my knowledge of her or him as well, that, you know, I get to know the character. So generally speaking, you know, you get, as many of us do, you get that kind of tap on the shoulder from a character, and you know, with a story to tell. So yeah, that's generally kind
That's
of, I
a
know it
great
sounds,
question, Emma.
yeah.
Thank you. I had an hour to think of it. So the other part of this question is, I know that you've written, you're a very accomplished short story writer. You've written novellas, you've written novels, you've written graphic novels. Is your process always the same? Or does it differ? The way that you approach a short story, is that different from a novella? Or is it always that tap on the shoulder first?
Yeah, it's not. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it such a bitch, right? I mean, it's always so different. And
You
sometimes I'll
writers with
approach
your technical terms. Such a bitch. Sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I mean, I'd like to ask you the same question in terms of your short stories. So as soon as I'm done, please, I'd love to hear what you do. But I mean, I kind of, I guess generally, let's see, generally, yeah, it's just so hard to generalize. I think that I think maybe the short stories come with perhaps the what if comes kind of like, you know, oh, I wonder was if there's a story here. And then the novels off, and I guess that's for me what makes the novels so much harder than the stories, is because sometimes the character that says, you know, here I am and I've got a story to tell, can just be, you know, it depends on the novel that I'm writing, but some of the novels, the character has been, like the one I'm working on now, she's just really, really hard to tease out. So that's
So
what
now
I
Emma has to answer her own questions.
yeah, I know. What do you do?
I think for me, with pretty much everything, and I think you're right, this makes it easier for me to do short stories than it does a longer work.
Yeah.
I have to know the voice of
Yeah.
the character. Like I have to, so I'm not as visual as some writers, but it's very much I'm listening. So I
Yeah.
need to know what the person sounds like, and if I can write in their voice, then I've got it. You know, it's a bit like, it feels like this is
Yeah.
great. It feels like climbing inside the character and speaking from their voice. If I
Yeah.
can do that, then I can, the rest of it will follow.
Yeah.
I could have like super cool ideas, but I can't put them into action until I've found the person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but as you know, a short story, like you're with them for a short amount of time, and that's easier to manage. But when you're writing a novel, you've got to sustain that for longer, and that's what I find hard.
yeah, it's so
Yeah,
true. That the voice thing is, yeah. And sometimes with the novel, what's really hard is that you've got the wrong voice, you know?
yeah,
You've written a draft and the voice is all wrong, and you know the novel's a failure because you just haven't heard them properly.
yeah,
But with the short stories, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you get that voice and you get that kind of yeah, the voice says, look, I've got the story to tell, and boom, 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 and it's here we
yeah,
go, you
yeah,
know. And that can just be a lot. And I like what you said about it being harder to manage as well, you know, because with a novel, you've got so many different other characters as well. You have so many different scenes. So a scene that will work in a novel, and then you go to another place or another scene or another group of characters or some other different dialogue, and it literally does not work. So
yeah,
literally does not work.
yeah,
Whereas you've got, you know, both a smaller margin for error in a short story, which I find that constraint to be sometimes a little bit like what you said, easier to manage.
yeah, I think so. And I have talked to other writers who find the opposite. You know, they find novels a lot easier because they like
100%.
to go, you know,
Yeah.
they like
Yeah.
that length and being able to explore it. But
Yeah.
short stories are easier.
I mean, I do like the length and I do like being able to explore it. But I actually feel like I've found my stride with the novella. I'm doing
Yeah.
another novella now. And even though I'm working on, well, I finished another novella, but even though the thing that I'm actually going away now to try and figure out 5 days by myself is a novel, I am trying to keep it like 60,000 or under. I don't know that I'm up to, you know, doing the whole 120,000 word novel again at this point, like maybe in the future, but I do love that more manageable length personally, you know.
I like
And
it
everyone
too.
is,
And
Yeah.
you're going away for 5 days. Good for you to work on this. That's awesome.
I am, yeah, I wasn't happy with I finished a novel and I know it's not right. And
Yeah.
I think how to fix it, but I do need to go away to do it. So my dog and I are going away. I've got all my stuff laid out. I hope to be all packed before the podcast because I'm just going to jump in the car when we're done. But I'm not quite there yet. I just have to throw some more things in. But yeah, I'm going away till Saturday morning to try and figure it out. Got my index cards, got my my scotch tape, gonna cover the walls. I've stayed there before. They're very supportive to finish work, and it's a beautiful spot. Actually, Mike, it's the spot that a lot of Remedy was set in.
Right.
That kind of lake by the ocean, that enclosed lake by the ocean that is in Remedy.
Yeah. Sorry, Emma, go ahead. I just wanted to say
No,
that's
it's
great that you're doing that.
Yeah. Lucky.
what I was briefly going to say, and I've got a question, but another question, but it might wait till later towards the end. I've read, and I can't attribute this to anyone because I can't remember who it was, but someone said that they think that the novella is the perfect length for horror, that it's got like it's short enough that you can keep it horrifying, but at the same time it's long enough to go into it. Would you say that's true? Have you found that?
Me, Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely have. And I love you know, other novellas that horror novellas at that length, you know, John Langan's Fisherman. I mean, I don't know if they're officially novellas, but they're shorter,
Yeah.
you know, novels. I'm just trying to think of some others. Priya Sharma, you know, Karen Warren's written a bunch of shorter works, and I kind of and plus some of the old ones like The Man Who Fell to Earth, and we can The Iron Gates, Margaret Miller's
Yeah.
Iron Gates, so many other work.
John
Well, I
Langan's
think,
Anchor too.
yeah,
His
yeah,
story Anchor
yeah,
is one of the best novellas I've ever read.
yeah, yeah. Okay, exactly. So, you know, I think it does resonate really well at that length, the horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
And so I've got one more.
Sure.
So, but I'm really throwing this on you. Okay. both of us
Okay,
are,
I'll open up Google.
yes. Both of us are in a kind of similar situation in that we've both lived, we both live and have lived in a place that's not our home country for quite a long time. And what I'm finding is that even though I come across as I'm in this weird in between place with the way I speak, and also with the way I write, because it's like increasingly. So, for example, I'm currently writing a story for a British publication that's in England. And I've forgotten a lot. Like my phrasing is more American now and more direct. Like my spelling is all over the place because you know, I'm in between. Do you feel like an American writer? Do you feel like an Australian writer? Do you feel like you're somewhere in between?
Yeah, I mean, that you and I have talked so much about that. And I think that you do bridge the voices and the gaps, like as well as anyone I've ever read. I really love that, how you do that. You know, you're able to write as an American, you're able to have the American kind of voice and set, and you're able to, like that story that you wrote that for Tor, remind me, but I thought was set in the UK, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So
and it just came to life, you know?
Yeah. So that Everybody is in the place, that's set in my hometown. So that's
But you were able to recall it and bring it to life so well, you know.
Yeah. Can you just tell the audience what that story title is? Because they can go read it for free if memory serves.
Yeah.
At Tor.
It's called Everybody is in the Place. You can Google it and it'll come up, and it's on reactor.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like for that, I not only, because I've not lived there for so long, you know, I've visited and things, but I've not lived there for so long. When I wrote it, I put myself back in my hometown, but I kind of had to put my younger self back in my hometown. Like me now doesn't exist in my hometown.
Oh, that's a
you know,
perfect way to put it,
yeah. So it's a weird feeling because you've got to time travel as well, because the home, well, I'll call it home because this is home now where I am, but also England is home. But the home I think of back in England is not a thing that exists anymore. You know, I've been here long enough that it's not the same place.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if I kind of know you do, but for the audience,
we've talked about this over many a thing, and I hope we do again soon.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. What can I say? That you said it, and I completely agree. You don't exist there anymore, and I think it used to make me despair in my work, and now I find it fuels it. I find if I said a story back in my hometown, or if I said a story in New York, or if I said a story in anywhere in the US, the fact that I'm not there, you know, and the person who was there, who lived there, who walked those streets, you know, yeah, it doesn't. Well, they're still there. It's almost like a ghost of yourself is still there. But you're here, so you can't. So that, in a way, I found a way to kind of help that fuel the writing. And in fact, that's kind of almost the theme of Remedy, you know, that where do you exist and how do you exist? And, you know, they can't work out in Remedy whether, if one of the big problems in Remedy is what's going to happen if they go back, like how much time has passed. So Nat's nightmare is that she's going to go back and her daughter is going to be 30, you know, and will never, or, you know, late 20s or whatever, and will not, and she will have missed out on her entire life. And so, and that's almost worse than not going back at all, you know what I mean? So all that I absolutely try and deal with, and it is really hard. Again, and it's hard to, so one of the ways that I've kind of found to I mean, there have been times when I've just wanted to give up. It's been so hard to just kind of negotiate those two, because I did find, and I know that I've spoken to other expats here in Australia. When I first got here, it was really hard to write as an Australian. I couldn't write as an Australian. Couldn't fake it. I absolutely, it sounded so fake. And there were other expats where it didn't sound fake. They were able to do it, but I just could not, you know, I don't know why. So what I've kind of found is that in order to make it work, I've just lent into the fractured, kind of haunted nature of really what you just said. So instead of trying to fake, oh, I'm born and bred in Australia, you know, I can write a ghost story in Australia. It's fine, you know, instead of being able to fake that, or fake the fact that, yeah, you know, I'm a native of Brooklyn. I've lived there all my life. I know it inside out, blah, blah, blah. Never, instead of faking that, I kind of am honest, you know, and my characters are often displaced.
Yeah.
So I may have a character who hasn't been to a place for a long time, or I may have had a character who I write quite a few Americans in Australia, quite a few Australians in America now as well, and New Zealanders and so on. So I just like more lean into the possibilities in terms of, you know, compromised consciousnesses, fractured subjectivities, and so on. But I kind of find that the shorter form, the short story or the long short story or the novella is an ideal kind of place to set those characters.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, though.
You're using that, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using it, and it takes a little bit more wrangling sometimes, because you can't just go, yep, you know, like where are my local stores? You know, I kind of have local stores here, but I've only been in this neighborhood for a few years. So how local are they? There are people here who have been, whose parents were born in this neighborhood. So, you know, you sort of, you kind of just lean into not being that person. And just also, I think too, the question that you ask as well is, luckily it's changing now. I mean, for many years, you know, where you were from, you know, the great American novel, you know, the great Australian novel, the great British whatever. And that's not so much a thing anymore in international horror writing, you know, which is wonderful. So we're just, it doesn't seem, you know, I can feel as terrified and as at home in a story set you know, anywhere in the world, in Nigeria or the Philippines, as I can in a story set in upstate New York, which is, you know, where I'm from. So yeah, and I think that's wonderful. I think we'd all agree probably with that too.
Yeah. Anything else, Emma?
Well,
No,
I
I'll
have
leave
a
the floor
question
for,
to this.
yeah.
Just for the curious, what prompted you to move to Australia?
I didn't choose to. So I came here as a, that was the other thing as well. I mean, I kind of, you know, was lugged here with my family as a teenager. And I was so keen to go back that I ended up going back, you know. I mean, not that I didn't like it or anything like that, but I just kind of missed some things. So then, you know, my husband and I went back to the US, lived in California, had kids, and now we're back again. So I moved with my family, Matt, you know, when my dad got a job here. Yeah. So I actually go to high school here.
If I think I remember this correct, reading this, that this was on the best horror of the year list for the New York Times. Do I have that right?
It was, yeah.
So it's a
Which is
good book,
great,
folks. Another theme in the book is you have these people who are displaced into this possible other reality, and as you said, they come together and so forth, and then this, as you term it, this possible savior appears
Yeah.
and claiming to have a remedy, which, of course, there
Yeah.
you have the title of the book right there. Um, what was the genesis of this storyline? What tapped you on the shoulder, do you think?
I think it was kind of the sorts of things that Gemma and I have just been talking about, to be honest. I think I
Yeah.
just really wanted to write that story. I really did. I'd never really written it quite as succinctly as that. Like as Matt just said, the question he asked, I did feel literally kind of, I had a life there, I had friends there, I'm a country girl, and I was, literally plucked from that world and dropped in Australia, which is something that I love it, of course, now, but as a teenager and so on, it's just the most unforgivable thing that can happen to you. And I mean, I know lots of other people for whom this has happened too. And so I just kind of really wanted to, and as Emma said, you do walk around often feeling alienated, like you bear the scars of another place, et cetera, et cetera. So I just kind of really wanted to write that story. And then the character who claims to have a remedy, yeah, I mean, that just comes from a kind of a classic, like, what if there's a cure? What if, guess, like Dorothy, looking
Right.
for the wizard and looking for Oz and looking for a way home and the red shoes and all of that. Like, what if the red shoes, didn't take her home? What if that was a horrible twist? And so I just, and that was where witches came in. So it's just kind of an homage to that whole sort of thing. I mean, The Wizard of Oz, I think is a story that captures everything that Emma and I were just talking about more than anything, at least the movie does. And so, yeah, that's how that came about. Sort of like, okay, I can wave my magic wand. I've got a little brown bottle, and you take this, and it will be fine. And how can you trust somebody like that? Where are they from? What's going on here? So that's how that kind of came about, without wanting to give too much away.
Yeah, Dorothy looking at the red shoes and wondering, is this really going to do what it's purported to do?
Yeah, and having every reason to not believe it as well,
Yeah.
More reason to not believe it than to believe it.
I guess another question I have, we always kind of ask this question, is what prompted you to start writing and telling stories in print? And then who influenced your idea of what good writing is like?
I think like a lot of us, I've never not written, just kind of, and I published some stories in my late teens, early 20s. And then I kind of just went into, having kids and moving around the world and getting involved in other things, and then just went back to it, as soon as I kind of could. And I guess, sorry, what the question was, what kind of prompted me to, and I guess I've always kind of read dark stuff and loved horror. And so that would seem like a natural type of story to write. Although, I have written I do love science fiction as well, I mean, so.
Do you have a favorite writer or a couple favorite writers you'd like to tell us about?
I guess just in like what you were saying, just in terms of in connection what you were asking, like Ray Bradbury, I kind of was like, this is
awesome.
Yeah.
I grew up reading Bradbury. Yeah, I love Ray Bradbury.
Yeah. That he really spoke to me and continues to his work. I mean, not only the craftsmanship, but his curiosity. You know, I think that's the curiosity that kind of drives all of his stories. If this is going to be a horror story, so be it. If it's going to be science fiction, so be it. If it's going to be fantasy, if it's going to be a couple of young protagonists, that kind of curiosity that pushes his stories. And I really felt dragged along with it, and the darkness and how unflinching he could be, like in The Illustrated Man and so on.
Oh yeah.
So I guess Ray Bradbury was a early, I mean, obviously Stephen King and so on, but and you know, now Brian Evanson is a favorite, Jeff Ford is a favorite, Karen Russell. I love you know, Kelly Link. I kind of been you know, when I before I got into the whole weird thing, I was introduced and I really enjoyed meeting and reading the stories written by so-called weird fiction writers, particularly women weird fiction writers, and so I kind of love them. I love Mariana Enriquez. She's probably one of my favorite writers at the moment. Yeah, it's just too like so many, you know. I can't think of a yeah, but that hopefully gives you kind of an idea of what got me, you know, yeah, jazzed.
Well, speaking of women writers, and this is for Emma too. Do you,
Kathy Koja.
huh? Do
Kathy Koja.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Just trying to
yeah.
get my brain totally. I
Oh
need another
yeah,
coffee.
she's great. Um,
Yeah.
do you see the state of women in horror as improving over the last several years, or do you think it's stayed more or less the same and needs to still do a lot better?
Was that a question for Emma?
Or both?
Mike?
It's a question for
Yeah.
both of you, really.
I'm gonna say you could go
Yeah.
ahead. I'll go after
No,
you.
you go ahead.
Oh,
No,
You had a day to get your brain.
yeah, I couldn't be doing this as early as you're doing this. No. I think both, Mike.
Yeah.
I think both at the same time. I think on the one hand, it's better than it used to be. There's more. We're coming into more prominence. There's you know, there's a huge push for people who are traditionally were horror writers, that now there's much more of us. So I think it is getting better. Do I think there's more work to be done? Oh, absolutely. There's no question, because what I witness is that while we are more prominent and we're writing, I do see the kind of, you know, the people I see men getting more
No,
they
I
get more,
asked. Yeah, I want to know.
yeah, they men tend to get more opportunities than we do. So like you'll you know, you'll find a I'm not going to say who, but you'll find an anthology series, say, on TV, and there's like one woman who wrote one episode and that was it. Like that's things like that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I know that especially in horror, but also in fantasy and science fiction, there was a bunch of women writers who used to write in the past, and it's like it's almost as if they've forgotten, like they're not, like they were there, we've always been here. It's just that people tend to not remember, but they're not as lauded or remembered. I mean, luckily there's people like the publishers at Valancourt who's bringing out
I was
stuff and things
just
like
thinking
that.
that. Yes.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be more of that, because the writers were there, they were there, and I wonder about the ones who are, because a lot of them are still with us. I wonder how they feel about when we're talking about, oh, you know, it's great for women now, there's lots of us, and they're probably sat at home going, what? I was there. Why don't you mention me? So I think both is my answer.
Just before we get off of Valancourt, I actually wrote this down or copied this to talk about later briefly. But this is a Facebook post from Valancourt. We mortgaged the farm to buy the rights to this great book because we thought it was terrific and that our readers would love it too. So far, it's had only 40 pre-orders. We'd love to see a few more people give it a shot. It's a really good 1970s supernatural novel by a sadly neglected woman writer who is favorably compared to Daphne du Maurier. I never can say her name right.
Maurier.
and it's called Moths by Rosalind Ash.
Mhm.
And you're right, Valancourt is doing a fantastic job of bringing books like that back and putting them in front of people so that
Yeah.
these authors are not forgotten. So,
Yeah, it's such an important work to be done. And I completely agree with Emma. I mean, as I discover, I think it was, I'm just trying to find the name of this other author who I can't find it, but I know that as I said, I wouldn't have read The Iron Gates if Karen Warren hadn't have recommended it to me. And there are just so many other writers who I didn't know about, women writers who I didn't know about from even just 10 or 20 years ago. So it is sadly neglected. But on the other hand, I don't really yeah, I mean, I don't think about being a woman writer as much as maybe I should, or as much as I do. I just kind of like muck in. But yeah, I guess there are still, I guess there's, from what I can see, there are still more opportunities for men.
Well, speaking of name recognition, are you going to be doing any like tours or personal appearances, or is that all going to be confined to your local area? Or do you, if you've got any trips planned to the state, do you have any like book signings planned that people could get to meet you, or anything we could tell them about?
Yeah, no, I would, but I don't think I will this year come to the US. Normally I would. I am still thinking of coming to Camp Nikon, but it's just a bit up in the air as to whether I can get away. I do usually do that. I did it last year. I did some readings in New York, and it was awesome. Did reading with Emma. But I just don't know about this year for a
yeah.
lot of reasons. I am going to try and get to the UK later on in the year, like in November, but I just don't know about the US. A lot is going on here, so I'm just going to kind of take advantage of it. I've got a bunch of appearances here and a bunch of conferences here, and I think that for Australians, it's a long way to go. It's a lot of money, and to go to the US or to go to the UK. And at the moment, things are just so tricky there. So, we've
Well,
got, yeah,
well,
it's
do you
hard.
have a say a personal website where you list your upcoming appearances in
Yeah.
case fans wanted to
Yeah.
come and hear you read?
Yeah. But I should be in the show notes, right?
Yeah, I believe it's the first link in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not very good at
First
keeping
or
up with that.
second?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, no, I got to take that back. The first link in the show notes is a link to Remedy on Amazon. So
Okay. So it's
your
just
website,
jsbruckler.com,
right?
the website. Yeah. So that'd be great. And I will update it.
Okay, I'll
for
try to
next
remember
year.
to correct that
No,
afterwards.
that's
Uh, so anyway, the name of the book is Remedy, folks, and it is a really good book. I really do highly recommend it. I don't have people on the show. When I have people on the show, it's for a very good reason, and this is a very good reason. Um,
thanks.
could you just briefly talk about you? This isn't your only book out there, obviously. Could you briefly talk about the others?
So my first novel was American Monster, and that again is kind of like horror sci-fi. I think that might be a bit hard to get now. And then I wrote Alethea, which I've talked to you about, I think, Matt, on the show. And then The Bridge was after that, with Meerkat Press. My collection Collision has got all my stories up until I think it was from also with Meerkat, and that was I think 2012 to 2022 or something. There's like 10 years of short stories, and yeah, I think so. And yeah, I've just finished another novella, and that obviously a bunch of stuff will go off out on submission this year, and a bunch of short stories out there as well. Like stories that you can read for free on Apex. fantasy, the dark, that, Black Static, that kind of those outlets. Yeah, and anthologies, best ofs, and a couple of Flame Tree anthologies as well.
A couple of what? Sorry.
Flame Tree anthologies.
Oh,
Darkness Beckon.
right.
The last is the most recent.
Um,
Sarah Langan. Sarah Langan is also one of my total favorite writers. Sorry, I was just again, I should have written all my
no,
list,
it's easy
but
to
trying to.
it's easy to
No,
forget.
I've just, and it's been so crazy just trying to get ready to go on this thing, and finishing my actual day job work over the weekend, and yeah, so, but it's okay. I've got my brain will come.
Thanks, Alan. Alan just wrote in the side chat with included the link American Monster is available on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay, right.
Which reminds me of the question I keep forgetting to ask about Remedy. Will that be on Kindle at some point? Do you know?
I mean, I think there's an ebook. They say I don't know. I need to kind of go and check with PS what the paperback, and I think that the it's yes, the answer is yes. It should be, if it isn't already. I need to follow
Maybe it's
that
just
up.
not on Amazon's US website. I'll have to do some more. Yeah.
Maybe
Googling.
not. And I'll thank you for noticing that, and I'll follow that up with them.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess my last comment, not question, but a comment about Remedy is, I just honestly wanted to thank you for creating such a realistic main character, a realistic protagonist with real issues that people have and worries. You know, she's she's had addiction problems, and
Yeah.
obviously she's been through the experience of going through withdrawal from things like that, going to rehab, trying to not repeat past mistakes, and as you said earlier, at the same time wondering, how many mistakes did I make with my child and so forth. She's a very relatable protagonist. So
Thanks, Mike. I mean, I think parenthood as well is something that I continue to explore in my stories, even though there's a main protagonist, and there's kind of a secondary kind of character,
right.
Called Jess, and Jess doesn't have kids, but she also has people that she loves, and I guess parenthood is it particularly changes your kind of feelings of oh shit. Uh, so I mean, I don't always write about parents, but I do have parents in a couple of novels. I think Alethea and then Remedy is a return to the idea of the particular challenges of not being a perfect person, are on also having children. So yeah.
Alan's on the job again. Thanks, man. Ebook available from the publisher. Okay. At PS
Okay.
Publishing.
Thanks,
They're
Alan.
such a great publisher, aren't they?
Really, they're really great. I was able to meet them last year when I went to Worldcon in Glasgow, and we hung and we had dinner together, and they're just the loveliest people, and so professional, and they do such beautiful books. So
Yes, they
it's
do.
really nice. I've been really lucky with, I mean, we haven't talked about small presses and how wonderful it is that we have so many of them here this morning, but we've talked about it in other conversations. And I'm so lucky that I've worked with so many wonderful small presses.
Well, yeah, with the other couple of small presses in particular I wanted to mention is what, I mean, Emma beat me to it with Tartarus Press.
Yeah.
But absolutely, everyone listening, you should Google Tartarus Press and
Yes.
look at their catalog. They have so much to offer, and it's a labor of love. These guys aren't getting rich, you know.
Mm-mm.
And the other one I think is doing a really many are, but the other one I wanted to mention is Jackanapes Press.
Oh,
Just like
okay.
it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Check that one
Yeah,
out
I mean,
too.
there are some great ones doing some really good work. I love, Raw Dog Screaming Press, and um they're doing some really, really great stuff, and Bad Hand. So
Oh yeah.
it's kind of And the people from Meerkat, I mean, I can't say enough about them. They're just really switched on as well because of everything, that they've been doing with Kathy Koja and with myself and Karen Warren, and they've got, yeah, they're really good too. So
Yeah, Bad Hand Books has really become more prominent lately, and I'm glad they've done such a great job with Laird's latest collection.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have to say that I just, maybe it's fresh in my brain, but I did just finish reading that a few weeks ago, and that Not a Speck of Light, I have to say, has got to be one of my all-time favorite collections of anyone. Not just Laird's, but it's wonderful.
And I believe that there are still, may not be many, limited editions available with an extra story and
Cool.
art by Trevor Henderson, and what was the other thing? Oh, show notes by Laird, or
Oh,
show
great.
notes,
Yeah. Well,
story
I thought,
notes, not show notes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd love that because the stories would love to know more about the writing of them, although I didn't get that edition. I just, got the regular one, but we'll keep an eye
Well,
out.
I don't think it's out yet, but
Oh, I
you can
see. I
still
got it. Okay.
pre-order it. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, good.
yeah. So yeah, I've got a few other things to talk about before we go, but I don't know if you feel like you need to go because you're preparing for this trip. Please feel free,
I,
or feel free to stay, either one.
yeah, okay. I'll hang for a bit. I just have one question
Yeah,
for Emma. Okay.
put her on the
So
spot.
Emma,
Yeah, absolutely.
what are you working on now, and when will the world get to see some more of your wonderful writing?
Oof. Thank you, first of all. So right now I'm on a deadline for 2 stories that were invites to anthologies. So hopefully I can get them done in time. I'm really getting really close to the deadline, and I'm just hoping that kind of adrenaline's going to kick in and I'll get it done. So keep your fingers crossed for me. And I'm also still I've got a couple of more stories I'm working on. I mean, I'm still working on the novel that I was working on the last time I saw you. Like, I've been working on it since 2020, and I hope that I'll get it finished at some point, but it's been a long haul. So I imagine I'll have short stories out in anthologies and stuff and online before that comes out, because that's still in the works. But it's driving me crazy, but I'm being stubborn about it now, so that's it. I have to do it just because
Yeah,
I
sure.
won't let it beat me.
Yeah. What is it about, or what's
Oh, it's so there's it's
some people don't like talking about their works before they're finished, but so
yeah,
it's,
no, that's fine. I've talked about it before. I think I've even talked about it here before, so it's fine. It's at least 2 dual narratives, and one of them is set in 1830, and it's about 2 men who become grave robbers because they need the money, and it goes horribly wrong, as
Right.
probably always does with my books. And then there's another strand to it, and there's the people all around them, and there's another strand to it which is more modern day, and it's about a rock star, a woman who was a rock star in the 70s, and she's convinced she's been abducted by aliens. I'll leave you all to make links between them. They do exist, but it's yeah. I think I'm just like writing novellas and squishing them together. But if it works for David Mitchell, it can work for me, right? So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
I mean, it's hard writing historical fiction.
Oh, so if I'd have known how hard it was, I would have not done it. I can't believe I've ended up writing an historical fiction, because I know I'm a librarian, but I'm not that interested in doing a bunch of research on boring
Right, the
things, you know?
research, exactly,
Yeah. So it might be my one and only historical novel, because it's been a bit of a nightmare.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, I really admire people who do it. I guess I could write a historical novel, like maybe set within, a decade in my lifetime, or maybe even in
Yeah.
my parents' lifetime. But to go back, I mean, like all of us, I guess, I'm interested in my grandparents and my great-grandparents and all the history there, but oh, wait a second. No, I've done it once. the novella Quicksilver that came out
Oh,
with
yeah.
Crystal Lake, along with Aaron Dries and Karen Warren. We were in a threesome novel together called Vandal. Yeah. So that began in mid 19th century Poland. There was a whole sort of third of the novella there. And the research just for a third of a novella killed me. So take my hat off to you.
Yeah, you understand.
Last Sunday we had Leslie Klinger on, who annotates books, and complete opposite. That guy loves to research.
Yeah, some people really do.
A lot of
Yeah.
people do. I found I really did not.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the where mine is set, it's 1830 because there was a law in 1831 which changed grave robbing forever, so it had to be before then. But also that particular time is just before the Victorians, so no one writes about it. So it was harder to find stuff out. So
Find stuff about it, yeah.
Yeah, I really set myself up with that one. Whew. So
Yeah. And then there comes a time as well. I just remembered I did have to do some research for the history of witches and so on in Scotland and so on for the bridge. I just remembering a few of the stuff that I've had to, but there comes a point where you kind of have to free yourself from the research. You do it, and you okay, I'm going to forget everything I know. Otherwise, my book is just going to be constrained by all these facts and factoids. And so you just have to go, okay, like I kind of know it now, and now I'm just going to kind of make shit up again.
Yeah, because you can tell when someone's been too in love with their research when you read their book, and I don't want to do that. Well, I'm certainly not in love with it because I don't like doing it. So
I noticed on Facebook there's a cover reveal for Nadia Bolkin's upcoming book.
Oh yeah,
Issues with Authority, and I forgot to Google, but I believe it's available for pre-order. I think Nadia told me that it was. And she's got a blurb from Laird on the cover that she's a must-read, and that's very true.
Yeah.
So check for those of you out there who are writing down recommendations. Write that one down. Issues with Authority, and it's Nadia Bolkin.
And who published that?
Is it
I know, but I'm blanking.
Cursed something. Morsels? Is it Cursed Morsels?
If only, let's see. I'll Google it. With Authority, Nadia. This will tell. Ghoulish Books. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think she did a novella with Cursed Morsels, maybe. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, it is available for pre-order, guys. At let's see here. At Ghoulish's website, which is ghoulish.rip, I guess. I'll just put it in the side chat here for people.
Okay.
Let's see here. There we go. So whether you're watching live or you're watching later, that'll appear right when the side chat happens exactly in tandem with the way it did live. So if your blood pressure is too low, what about this whole meta fiasco bullshit? Pirating all these books to train its AI. Yeah.
It's a weird backhanded compliment kind of thing because I've never been on one of these lists before. This is the first time, and it's so in one hand it's like congratulations, you're notable enough to steal from. Great. So yeah.
This is just screaming for a class action lawsuit. I don't understand how they can do this.
Yeah, I don't understand either. I'm wondering what will happen in terms of the global nature of it, because will class actions have to be just national, like the people in the United States, and then in Australia, like everyone in Australia has been scraped as well. So it's everyone in the world, really. So it's just,
I don't know if it's just they're so huge that they're like, we're just going to do this because we're huge enough that we're going to get away with it. I guess.
I think that's what it is, because it was clearly against the law, and they've just done it anyway. Yeah.
And every writer I know is really upset about it, and for good reason. So John Langen's collection, Lost in the Dark, is. I texted him and he said he thinks the August 5th it'll be out.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll need, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's the publisher? Mike, who's the publisher?
Ross Lockhart's press.
Word hard.
Weird
Weird
Horde,
Horde.
yes.
Horde.
Weird Horde is the publisher.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. What else do I have here? Oh, staying on the Bridget, did you see there's going to be a new Buffy series? I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, I saw that for that. It looks super interesting. I think it's cool that Sarah Michelle Gellar was excited about it because I don't think she would do it if it was gonna be crappy.
Well, yeah, she
Yeah.
said that she's been pitched so many ideas over the years, and she's always said, "No, that doesn't sound good." You know, so she said she wouldn't do it unless, she really thought it was a wonderful idea.
Yeah,
I
so I have high hopes.
I doubt she needs the money, so. Let's see. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we go?
Did you
I'm
watch-
good. I will send you a picture of my beachside retreat, and Eleanor.
That's great. I
is-
don't have a beach. You go ahead and send me a.
I don't either. This is courtesy of some friends, so yeah.
Oh, I haven't been watching Severance. Was it good? The finale?
It's awesome. It was really good.
I agree.
I thought you started watching it though.
I saw the first season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, the second season definitely took things to a whole nother level, which was awesome.
It did. It really opened it up. You kind of had episodes set. You got out of that claustrophobic it was still snowbound, but you got out of that just being in the Severance quarters. I mean, I'm sure, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but it really changed I thought the location stuff was breathtaking, how they moved it around like that. Yeah.
They seem to be revealing enough to keep us interested.
That's a good way to put it. Just enough to hang the carrot and then keep us watching.
I do remember watching the finale of season 1 and swearing at the TV because I had to wait for season 2, and now I haven't watched season 2 yet. So.
The first episode of season 2 had me swearing up and down, but then it really got awesome after that. So
it found its stride, and apparently we don't have to wait quite as long for next one. So.
Oh, there is going to be a season 3.
Oh yeah.
yeah, because the finale just aired last night. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of finales, Danielle and I are waiting for Thursday to go by before we watch all of Reacher, because just watching episodic, waiting once a week, can't do it. So.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm a few episodes into that. I am enjoying it. I don't think it's not grabbing me as much as the first couple seasons, but that's allowable, it's still entertaining enough.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about, kind of mindless entertainment before we started recording.
Are you saying Splinters was mindless entertainment?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you said that. You said that. I didn't say it.
I've got that scheduled on it's on Shudder, is it? Because I'll be watching, need sort of my entertainment for while I'm away at night. So I mean, I've heard of Splinter before and I've been wanting to see it for a while. So
right, just don't blame us.
Well, I watched a mindless fun movie this morning, Underworld, which I don't think I'd ever seen it before.
What?
Yeah. Well,
Underworld's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun universe.
Are the sequels good?
More the same.
What do you mean? Wait. That's such a
They're
charged
dependable.
word. Good is such a charged word.
What do you mean good? What the definition of is.
In a way, it's good.
Yeah. And is it good in the same way that the first one is good? Entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty like Alan said, much of the same. They're very reliable, good, fun watching movies.
I'm looking forward to watching a movie that I should have seen a long time before this. I've seen bits of it. It's The Furies. It's an Australian director, also on Shudder. Mike Aquino, Tony Aquino, and so I'm looking forward. That looks awesome.
Tell us about it. Wait, we've not heard of this.
No.
Yeah, no, it's on Shudder. It's called The Furies, and he's a
After
lovely
the Greek demigods?
yeah, yeah. And yeah, it's an Australian. I mean, again, I don't know any. I just know that it's meant to be awesome. It got a really good review, some on horror, Horror King or horror.com or whatever, one of the big horror movie review sites. I'm sorry, the last few days have just been a total blur for me. But I did see it and I was like, okay, right, I'm scheduling that as well. And I kind of, yeah, I know the guy, and it's meant to be like this crazy, all out sort of, gonzo thing, but it works. So have you found it, Matthew? The Furies?
Yes, 2019.
Yeah.
Matt's
Yeah.
always looking for more movies to show on the Lovecraft
So
Easing
this
movie
comes
night.
highly recommended. And I don't know, speaking of Australian horror films, has everyone seen Talk to Me?
Yes, I have. I saw it a year or two ago.
Yeah, that was the one with the two women in the woods, right? And the one
No,
was the composer, or is that a different film that I'm thinking of?
it's the Hand of Glory one.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course,
really amazing.
one I'm thinking of.
That
You like-
actually looks like perfect for movie night. I'm gonna put that on the list.
of course,
Which one, Talk to Me or The Furies?
Talk to me, because we do cosmic horror, sometimes vampire, sometimes werewolf, we do folk horror, but we also have a thing for witch movies.
And I know
So,
you want to.
yeah.
I know
like-
you want to play. You want to show Lake Mungo again. Isn't that one of your
Oh,
favorite movies?
I'll get right on it.
I
Yeah,
love
I'll
Lake
tell
Mungo,
him.
but
That sounds
Matt
like
does
that's
not.
right up.
Lake Mungo, you didn't, Matt didn't like it?
No, I thought it
No,
was.
you know, he's older. He
Here we
shakes his
go.
fist at clouds, that kind of thing. So, sorry, Matt.
Also sucked.
Yeah, I
Right,
saw.
I'm gonna shoot off, guys. It
Okay,
was
no
so good.
problem. Hey, you have a good time on your
So nice to
retreat.
meet you.
Congratulations on your book.
Great to see you.
Very much.
You're
Great to
welcome.
talk to everyone again. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have much else left either. I want to say thanks to. I don't know what I did, but I've got all these patrons who have sent me either Amazon gift certificates or stuff. So I just want to thank them publicly. Marcos, Donna, a little can't see them, but my chimes over here. Marianne sent me that really neat Cthulhu thing that I showed, a little Cthulhu book house that I showed last week, I think. Kelly is always sending me stuff. Steven sent me, like I said, we had Les Klinger on last week, and then one of my patrons, Steven, sent me one of Les's annotated Sherlock Holmes. I mean, look at that thing. So
That's a good one.
thank you to all of you. I had a question for you guys. So I saw again on Facebook today, somebody asked the question about, I guess there was some thing with Substack, and there were some Nazi Substacks on its platform. You guys know about this?
Yeah.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
question that she asked was, should I not be on Substack because of this? And it was interesting, the varying answers that she received. So,
Yeah.
I guess my initial thought is that there are assholes everywhere, including Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think?
So I think part of it with Substack was that they pay certain people to do Substacks. They're like, they have people and a lot of like right wing kind of people were getting paid and pushed forward.
Oh, I see.
I
That's a
think
little
that's
different.
what was happening, as well as the whole Nazi thing. But I think I can see both sides. Like on the one hand, there's the whole like Nazi bar theory. Like if you've got one Nazi, then you're all Nazis in that bar. Do you see what I mean? Like if you associate with Nazis, then, But on the other hand, you're right. Like creatives, people of podcasts, writers, we've got to get our work out there or
Yeah.
get people to know. And it's increasingly vanishing. Any platform that's actually good, like they're all evil. So it's like,
Yeah.
are we going to judge how evil one is? It's a
And
tough
are we going to
call.
pass judgment
Yeah.
on another creative person for choosing to be
Yeah.
there? I think that's very,
And
very
I don't think I
judgmental
would
thing to do.
judge someone to
Yeah.
do that if they did that, because it's so hard.
Yeah, and if I think if we all leave those spaces, then there's nothing left except that, and
And they
that's
won,
not good
right?
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Good point.
Substack a platform or a publisher? And it sounds like they're blurring the line.
Mm.
Yes, I
That's
would say
correct.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, you wouldn't want to be published by someone that also publishes
That's a really good
Nazis.
point. And I
Yeah.
do think the line
It's
is blurred with
difficult.
Substack. I mean, it's objectively, it is a really neat little platform. I kind of have a personal blog on it that doesn't have anything to do with the horror or easing stuff usually. And it's a lot of fun. I think it's really well put together. I just did, I mean, 30 seconds of Googling is all. Uh, but I did see an article from last year where Substack ejected some of these people after, everyone brought this this thing up. So I don't know. Maybe they're correcting some of it. I don't know. But
I wish that we had alternatives that we could all literally put our money where our mouth is and all move to that, but
yeah.
I think there's a newsletter service called Ghost that people are going to, but I don't know much about it. But I wish there were more options so we could literally, show where we want to be, but there's not.
Yeah,
So.
very few of us, whether you're talking about writers or artists or podcasters or whatever, very few of us are in that league, like say maybe like Paul is, and Trevor Henderson the last few years. But the rest of us, we have a lot of us have a very loyal following, but it's a small following, it's a cult following, and we have to have places to, get the word out, as you said, Emma. So I don't think it's I don't think it's as black and white of an issue as some people want to make it, as is the case with a lot of life, So, um, oh yeah, right. Matt Maxwell, also one of my patrons, but I've been promoting him since before he was a patron. But yeah, he's got 5 days left on his Kickstarter. Just Google Kickstarter and fake believe, just like it sounds, and check that out. He's got another book coming up, fantasy horror and crime on the streets of an 80s Los Angeles, slipping into shadow. So, and Matt's a good writer. That's
I've
just
read
another.
this, by the way.
Oh, you
I
have?
did a blurb for him. Yeah, and it's great. Like if you like Matt's work previously, it's set in the same world, Hazeland. It's like an alternate 80s, like LA. It's very stylized.
Yeah.
It's I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Well, there you go. And it's interesting what Matt said to me is he only asked for 500 in the Kickstarter, and right now he's got over $1,800 pledged. And he said that's going to help a lot, but he really is using Kickstarter as more of almost like a social media in itself to get the word out about the upcoming book, which I think is really clever.
Yeah.
Which again is back on this theme of us getting the word out.
Yeah. And I think finding different ways to get books out as well. I think it's interesting seeing, because also when I was thinking, I've been watching the is it Etch? It's Victoria's husband.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
But I've been watching. Yes, I've been watching, and that's an interesting way of getting work out as well, isn't it? It's documentary, but
that's on Substack. There's a great that's a great example.
Yeah, so it's interesting seeing people try different stuff.
Yeah, he's had some great video interviews that he, with Laird, Paul, several others that I'm blanking on right now. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's really good. And by the way, just for the record, if I get a lot of people asking me to promote things, books and other creative projects, and if it looks good, I do my very best, and I'm never going to ask the question, oh, is this person a Patreon? Oh, they're not, so I'm not going to promote them. I don't do that, just for the record. But at the same time, I do take special notice. Somebody who's been supporting me for a long time. Matt's a good example. Phil Gillette's a good example too. And I want to, if I can, give back to them in some way. So, all right. Anything else to talk about, Matt? Is there anything you want to complain about or anything?
No, we're always looking, if we have watched, I mean, I'm keeping a log. We have watched so many, most of them really pretty good movies over the years. I'm always looking for new titles. We have watched almost all the Lovecraft adaptations, almost all the available cosmic horror. But if anyone has any ideas, if they could just, drop us a line and let us know.
Yeah. You can send it to lovecrafteasing@gmail, and I'll forward it on to Matt. And all kidding aside, I really appreciate you doing that the past few years. And I know
It's
been
fun. It's like we got our little group of regulars and we do this side chat. It's really a nice way to spend a Saturday evening if you don't have, fun plans.
And you're, like, as you told me, too frightened to watch a horror movie on your own, so this helps you.
Well, also, my Isabel just dislikes being scared, so
I hear you.
this gives me a way to watch these movies.
Right there with you. Emma, really great to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
Well, thanks for coming.
Great time.
Oh, and Bridget, really great to see you.
Great to be here again.
Yeah, I'm glad the house issues are calming down at least. I know there's more challenges ahead, but
Yes, thank you.
yeah. I know this is kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously this put you behind with Weird Horror Podcast. But can you just, before we go, real quick, talk about that and say what's next? Tell the audience what's next for it.
Yeah.
And where they can go listen to it.
Yeah, season 2. Season 2 out soon. Like the next few days, I'm going to be posting actually the Gemma Files story that was aired on the Lovecraft Easing channel a while ago that I narrated. So I'm going to be republishing that for Women in Horror Month this week. So
nice.
weirdlibrary.com. If you go there, it'll give you all the links to go to where you can listen. Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, whatever your place of choice is. And there's also a link there if you want to submit stories too, because I'm always looking for new stories to feature, include. Got myself and a couple other narrators that are great. So
yeah,
come check it out.
Yep, weirdlibrary.com. You're doing a great job with it.
I'll give everyone a reminder to put your name in for the prize. I'll just send an email to easyprizes@gmail.com and put relay in the subject heading.
Oh, real quick, you recommended, I haven't gotten to it yet, but Bridget, you recommended a podcast to me called The Last Movie.
Yeah, The Last Movie. It's actually a group of podcasts by Pacific Northwest Stories. There's Tanis, Black Tapes. Both of those are pretty old. I think The Last Movie is a more recent one, but I think it's also concluded. I've just been late to the ball game listening to all these, but really enjoyed The Last Movie because it's very much forbidden movie, forbidden film kind of genre. So I feel like that it's very cool. And the second season was really good. It was even better than the first season, so I liked it a lot.
Yeah, we are listening to Tanis before each episode of Movie Night. So we're on episode 5 now, and I swear I should be taking notes because I am so freaking confused.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's presented as a documentary, but it's I mean, it's bordering the line of fiction and
It's got
documentary.
enough historical facts about Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard that you think
Yes.
it's a history podcast or a.
Yeah, and I came across a legit article about something that they referenced that happened in the Pacific Northwest that I honestly thought they made up. And then I came across an article today. I was like, oh my gosh, they referenced an actual thing that happened. So yeah, it does a good job of sucking you in and making you think that it's real. So it's fun.
The last movie, as you said, that forbidden movie type thing, sort of King and Yellowish almost, right? Sort of thing.
Yeah, but in the modern
Right.
sense, like the second season in particular is about YouTube video. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, okay. Well, gosh, guys, thanks for being here. It was a fun episode. Thanks, Emma, for joining. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
So, all right, everyone, have a good week.
Listen to Emma's story on the Weird Library. It's awesome.
It's great. Thank you.
I'll check story. It's one of my favorite stories from Dark Blood Comes from Feet. So
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, if you haven't picked up that collection, do that, people. So
do it.
It was on one of NPR's best lists, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that year, the best books of 2020.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody, have a good week, and we'll see you next time.